Reviewing the agenda, I'll need motions to approve it. Tonight we'll have public comment. We'll have the city manager's report. In new business, we have a public defender appointment discussion, Charles Abbott Associates agreement, and the railroad crossing West 9th Street. Tonight we have two action items, one held over from the last meeting, which is the Development Board Authority appointments, and then we have a statewide mutual aid assistance agreement that we need to do tonight as well. So those are the items on the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Tonight we have public comment. The mayor and council welcomes any public comment at this time. This portion of the meeting is for comments from citizens on any city issue, not for questions or debate. If you have questions, you will find contact information for all council members on the city website, or you may contact City Hall staff. Thank you for attending our council meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to make any public comment? We will close the public comment session and we will go straight to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a couple of items from you. We've talked about, for you, we've talked about these in the past, but just want to give you an update. Specifically on the Kia Parkway, Kia Boulevard paving, a resurfacing project. As y'all know, that road's been in service for about 15 years. The city was required to take ownership of that road as part of the Kia project. And even at that time, we knew that we would be stretched to have the funds to maintain and operate that road and the Lone Cane Creek Bridge. So in 2022, we knew that things were really starting to show as far as wear and things on the roadway. So council at that time wanted to pursue getting SPLOST funds for that project. So along with all the other governmental entities in Troup County, we set aside $4 million for the Kia Parkway, Kia Boulevard paving project. Now, we know that won't do the entire project, but it will cover a good bit of it. So once we had those SPLOST funds in hand, we were able to start making some applications for some grant funding and assistance. And we called on DOT to look at the project. So in December, DOT agreed to fund the project with a match of $1.5 million from the city of SPLOST. So that's already been done. The mayor signed the agreement with DOT in December. So that project has already been let, and I'm expecting we'll see contract wrapping in the next couple of months, most likely to start that. So that's all the asphalt area. There are a few concrete areas that they will not resurface, but that gets all the asphalt. But that leaves Lone Cane Creek Bridge and the issues that we talked about there with the scouring under the bridge, the hump that's on either side if you ever drive through there. So we'll have $3.5 million remaining in the SPLOST funds to go towards that remainder of that work. I don't know how long that'll take. We've got to move forward now with the engineering on that to know exactly what it is that we need to do. DOT's taking a look at it, provide us with a report, but they don't want to have any part of that project. They won't fund any part of it. So even though they built the bridge and designed it, what they did.
Say that, yeah.
But we're probably looking at, I would say, probably 2 years out on that project. There's some environmental stuff that has to be done, realigning the creek potentially, so that's going to take a little time. The good news is, got the funding to do the resurfacing on the roadway and get it back in good shape. Any questions on that? Second project is the water intake project and the water treatment plant improvements. We still are hopeful for an appropriation from Congressman Ferguson's office. They've committed to $6 million, and how we get from committed to having a check is the trick, I think. But still working on that. Of course, the city has obligated $1.3 million in the SLFRF funds for this project. So that money's already, we have that money from the federal government. We're holding that, and it's been obligated for that project. We have to spend that money by 2026, December of 2026. So the whole scope of the improvements at the water treatment plant, got a new estimate today, is $17,600,000. This is a project, for the most part, that we have to do. And it's going to have to be done for a variety of reasons to really update the plant, but also to meet the capacity demands that we have in order to produce more water. We've got to do these improvements. To build the water intake, we may have the funds, but we can't produce any more water at the plant until we make these improvements. So we've been talking to Andrew Tripp about bond financing and working on a plan there. So there's going to be more information to come. I just want to let you know that we are working on that, potentially looking to bond that project sometime later this year. In order for us to meet the timelines that we need to meet, that looks like where we need to be. But no decision. This is just for your information to know that we are working to get this project underway and hopefully completed. Our last item is that we've made a purchase. Sandy Inman with the electric department has purchased one of our, I guess it's probably our biggest capital item that we had in the budget. Y'all might have seen it parked out front. It's a new derrick truck that's parked here in the upper parking lot if y'all want to see it when we go out. $240,000. So it's nice. A nice truck, replaces a 2007 model truck. So we're proud to have that and new piece of equipment for the electric department. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to new business. The first item is the public defender appointment, and you have a letter of interest and resume in your packet from Jacob Key. I'll let you all review that, and we'll take that up in the business meeting. Is there any comments or questions from anybody regarding that?
Impressive resume.
Yeah. All right, then we will move on then. The Charles Abbott Associates Agreement. Ed?
Yes, sir. We've, as in the last council meeting, we worked through the process. The council has approved for us to move forward and approve the fee schedule. So this is the actual agreement that we're bringing to you now. And it's a very simple agreement. Basically, the scope of services for the consultant to perform the building plan reviews and inspection services for commercial and non-single family residential projects. Again, as we discussed in the previous meeting. We will compensate them for only those commercial and non-single family projects at 65% of the permit fee. Then the inspections, et cetera, everything that was on the fee schedule, those will all be billed to us. So we'll collect those fees and just pay those to them. So the project should pay the cost of the consultant to do this work for us. As far as the terms of the agreement, once we enter into that, we can terminate with 30 days with cause. The consultant can do the same in 60 days. They've met the insurance requirements in the agreement. One of the things that is a key point for us many times is ownership of documents. A lot of times we'll have companies that, for some reason, they don't want us to have ownership of documents, but this is very clear that all materials around these projects that are submitted to us and we submit to them, the city owns. So we have the right to have all those documents, plans, all those things. So that's a good thing for us as a city. And the rest are just the basic information that our very capable attorney has made sure that we have in here to cover the agreement.
All right, any questions?
Indemnity, I see that in here. Is that good enough?
I'm satisfied with it. I'll also say this for what it's worth. And Charles Abbott they've maintained a local presence for quite a while in Hogansville and LaGrange, doing essentially the same service. And they're both very satisfied. Both cities, and they're here every day and somewhere in Truett County. So they're not gonna be hard to find, but yes, I'm satisfied with the amendment and language in the contract.
Anybody else, any questions on that? All right, let's move on to the railroad crossing on West 9th Street.
So, we're all familiar with this situation that we have at 9th Street. We have, we've still not had any real progress in getting an engineer estimate on cost of what it would take to put things back, in order to eliminate the issue at the crossing. However, I think we did discuss briefly that CSX was contacted about us encroaching on their property potentially to make these improvements. And they have said, you know, well, we'd really like to see the crossing stay closed. And they also said that they have some financial incentives in order for that to happen, if that's something that the city was interested in. And they also said DOT had financial incentives as well to close crossings. So if you look on CSX website, you'll see that, I mean, that is true, and they've got it listed in there, but they really won't talk about any amounts, I guess, until we sit down at the negotiating table and work through the process of doing that. So I guess my question is more of a question to y'all than anything else, is that something that is there a desire to keep the crossing closed, to reopen the crossing, make the repair, reopen the crossing? I really, if we do both, I mean, it's gonna be the longest and the most expensive for the city, I think, to figure out, you know, which way we're going. I don't know what CSX would require of us to further the conversation about the crossing. Every time we ever do anything, it seems like it costs us money to do it. But, you know, there are some things we could do at 8th Street if we had additional funding, potentially add a turn lane there, or do some changes to that intersection, the signals. DOT might agree if we willing to pay for those things. So there's certainly some things that we can look at along that line. But if we want to reopen it, we might as well focus on what it's going to cost and what the engineer's going to like to make that happen.
I've
I would
heard
like to
nothing
see-
from the community except reopen
Yeah.
9th Street. That's all I've heard. Nobody across the board, anybody that has talked to me, every single person is deeply concerned about the traffic situation that takes place at 8th. And I know maybe we could adjust and change, but we've got 3 openings to town, and all 3 of them are needed. I mean, I don't think our traffic capacity allows for taking one crossing out. And from what I've heard from many, many people, half of whom I go to church with every Sunday, they want that 9th Street intersection open, so we need to find a way to make that happen, in my opinion.
I didn't hear you that great. Did you say that the railroad people and DOT were like wanting to talk about not reopening it? That they wouldn't talk about reopening it, they wanted to talk about not reopening it?
That's correct.
They were gonna give us some financial incentives to not reopen it?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, potentially,
Yes.
but no figures were mentioned, is
That's
that what
right.
you said? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard, you know, getting kinda old.
From an engineering perspective, I think they feel like we'll need to get on the railroad's property in order to be able to raise high enough to eliminate the problem. So if we have to get on the railroad's property, we know that's gonna be more cost. We'll have to pay all the engineering costs.
So if they don't want us to reopen it, then they're not gonna be real excited about us getting on their property, is that what you're saying?
I think that's true. I mean, they didn't say that, but they'll
I know,
incentivize us to do one,
But they didn't give us a figure either, so.
slow us down on that.
Can we publish their number?
I would have to agree. It needs to be open. I don't think they could offer us any amount that would satisfy us or the community. It needs to be open. And they need to look at the fact of how many, trucks or 18-wheelers or whatever you call it was stuck on that track. They made the mistake in my eyes, and I think that they should be responsible for it. I mean, 'cause it could have cost somebody's life. So I'm like Gerald, I mean, I've had a lot of complaints. When are you gonna open that street back up?
Well, we don't know what it's gonna cost, and we don't know,
Like I said, they should be responsible for it. They made the problem.
well,
The city didn't.
well, it sounds like a prolonged negotiation, whichever way we go, so.
Instead of spending a lot of money on all engineering, let's just put up a big sign, welcome to West Point, that's about 10 feet off the ground that semis can't get underneath
There you go.
on both sides.
I like it.
Put, cars only.
Here, here.
They got those hanging things I've seen, I don't know what they're called, you know, that you bang into when you drive, you know, maybe we could do something like that instead of spending all this engineering money. And just make sure there's no way that a semi would ever attempt to do that. Just make it physically impossible for them, you know, they'd have to.
When it trailers also that was attached to, trucks and cars, it wasn't just 18-wheeler?
Motor.
Yeah, motorhomes, but I'm
Yeah.
saying if you get it
Yeah.
down to where it's just car either, I don't know. I'm not a traffic engineer like everybody on Facebook is, so I don't.
And then people
I
were
don't
so,
know.
they so confused how to get to the police department.
Well, it's hard to get over there.
They don't know which way to
We could
go.
restrict it to automobile only somehow without having to do all the paving.
Not that
and,
we
you
won't
know.
come see you, but
So it sounds like to me, the idea.
We want the intersection, we want the
should
crossing, we just
it's a problem.
don't want travel trailers ripping out their sanitary tanks and semis getting stuck and all that.
I agree with Steve.
Or
I think
anybody
there's a
killed.
solution out there that wouldn't cost a ton. It might not be most ideal, but it would work. If we could reopen the intersection for regular traffic, cars and light trucks, kept the 18-wheelers and things like that off of it, I think we could do this. And reopen the intersection. That's my opinion.
We can't be the first city to have an issue like this. I wouldn't think. Nobody at CSS could give us any kind of.
They want it closed.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's kind of their position. I think it's a redundant crossing is what they.
That's because they don't live here.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I mean, really,
It is some. You didn't do
it's a
this.
necessary crossing.
It probably wasn't before this bridge was here.
No,
Of course, I didn't live here then,
it wasn't before then.
but the way the traffic's routed now with that bridge,
Do you
Sure is
know
handy.
why they made it so high like that?
I've heard stories of the rails are taller, and I've heard all kind of stuff. The rails are taller now, and yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. They're taller, and they, you know,
they're
maybe
absolutely
maybe the
big
railroad
for
tires are
the
fatter now too. Whatever, it's got it up higher. It seems like.
stormwater.
So it's
I
probably,
think they're
we're
carrying a
probably
lot.
not the
They're carrying a
only
lot
one.
more weight on the probably on the rail lines too. I think, and so they really got to beef it up. To all this, you know, these 2 mile long trains. That run through.
So with that being said, are they gonna eventually do the others like that too?
I
No,
don't
they-
think so, simply because of the grade.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll have the same impact. I mean, they've worked on those and they've raised them up some.
we get over those.
They could, I mean, it's their property, so they can, if the train will run across it, they can do whatever they want to do. Stage.
Is adding a turning lane the only other alternative we possibly have though? That's about it.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily even have to do that. I mean, we don't, there's a lot of things that could be done to help with the traffic flow if it remained closed. But again, it seems like the idea is that we want it reopened. So if we're gonna reopen it, that's why I'm asking, because if we're gonna reopen, then we can just leave all those other conversations alone. 8th Street crossing, a turn lane, whatever, those are out. We just move forward with coming up with a plan to get it reopened.
Can we vote tonight?
You don't have to vote, I think it's clear, unless y'all want to. I mean-
Well, it's clear unless we find out that the cost and the negotiations with the railroad are too difficult, and then we might have to reconsider.
Well, I'd like to know what kind of physical impediment we can put up, what methods can be used to stop the signs don't work. Hanging signs up there just doesn't stop them. They don't care, they don't see it. Something that would, stop them from actually doing that. We got that taken care of. It's usable.
The next work session, we'll come back with.
Okay. Anybody else?
Give us a month.
Yeah.
We'll have something.
All right, we do have 2 action items tonight, as I mentioned earlier. First item is the Development Authority Board appointments. There are 3 statements of interest in your packet for 2 board seats on the West Point Development Authority Board. The 3 applicants have attended meetings with the West Point Development Authority and introduced themselves to the board. The West Point Development Authority Board is supportive of the mayor and council's decision in selecting the new board members. So we have two seats. The first one is, do I hear a motion to appoint a new member to fill an unexpired 2-year term?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that we appoint Aaron Lewis to serve the 2-year term.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that carries. The second one, do I hear a motion to appoint a new member to a full 5-year board member term?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Pete Bober to the full 5-year term.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next item, and this just kind of came up out of the blue, we have a statewide mutual aid agreement. We have a statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement in our information packet that was received on January 8th, 2024, and must be approved and submitted by January 31st. The agreement provided by the Georgia Emergency Management Agency requires a framework for emergency and disaster response and is mandatory to be updated every 4 years. Before we do that, does anybody have any questions regarding this? It's kind of boilerplate stuff, but anybody want to know anything? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the items on the business meeting for February 12th, 2024, at 5:30 will be the public defender appointment and the Charles Abbott Associates agreement, and more discussion of the railroad crossing at West Ninth if needed, only if needed. So do we have any announcements this evening?
We have a pending date for our Black History program, February the 27th, possibly the 29th. We'll need to make sure that the schools are not testing that week. The theme this year is 1 hour, because we're going to do this program within 1 hour. I promise you, if we're not finished in 1 hour, we're just going to escort everybody to the door.
Promise?
A promise.
I promise. Okay. Anybody else have any announcements? All right, I need a motion to
I move
adjourn.
we adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No more stay. All righty. Thank you.